first pillar pour que corruption kele in banko kan because iko mo même ko même mam falo lo wala ka muta ni ko masingol ya understand but ni wo bula la kumo kono tay gambe be nyame corruption be mbulu nyame nin kombe in commission me ya set nanten ka je ko politician wol le famo be wol sembentu yala wala wol be kamo dile la pour que corruption start ka kele problème bo to fango to la corruption la kelonte ninte ba marala la bi nimba kunna wotina politician la side luasi de danole yes barama nyen boleto la side wonyanta na la mintole journalist all and in the public naming and shaming
but there is a problem with that reasoning because
yes
if Barrow is like the center, if Barrow does not hold the whole thing will collapse. So even
yes,
when it comes to corruption, if Barrow does not take the hammer, everything else would not work.
That's what I mean. All I ko mo follow all bam tala ko masingol. But right now, ninko lafta ka corruption o kele. Yeah, sembo be deal journalist all altol sifalo ale document date ale container aduyan ale lañi nako aldunta dawoda ale fengo femfo tanatal. Alke fo nyamen ten corruption mol melka dun corruption ko non ka bule no ma nyamen ke wanci jamaae na bamba wala ha tanata tar la ko nyin koma but ka fo den ko politician wala be loi pass la commission wala be sila nta man kuja ge me insafo men nga yakar je ko be na problem
no nda fona ni d'accord ta ni d'accord ta wala you see I tell people here, I tell them regardless of who you have as a president in this country, they are not prophets, they are not going to be saints, they are not going to be anything close to that. You still have to go and fight and make sure they do the right thing. So you are right, we still need journalists, we still need activists, we still need whoever becomes president, we still need to push. That I agree with you.
Mustapha?
Yeah.
Mustapha, for me, definitely, I'm a politician, but I think academic for them, it is very important to put more along. Corruption is not like, yes, you can say you're going to fight, but corruption, I think for me, the way effectively to fight it, we're going to empower whistleblowers and protect them. That is what I believe. And for me, that is my stand. But the other important thing is, even with whistleblowers and but the head of that country need to have the political will. You see, you can still be a politician, but on principle, you see a system that definitely you did not entertain and you wouldn't entertain. So you have the political will, and everybody knows you that this person is uncompromisable. So the more people become aware that the head of an institution is an anti-corruption minded person or leader, you there do corruption. If you are going to do it, it's going to be very little. So the whistleblowers plus head of state having the political will and known to be somebody with that intention and ambition, corruption will be minimal in a system. But as long as you can still have...
and any one of you can comment on this subject. I don't know how this is going to go because if there is a president who is not very keen on fighting corruption, okay? And you have, because Barrow, for example, has no problem with journalists doing their job. In fact, I said earlier that press reports have had a lot of impact on the Barrow a number of times. But there are also times when he just looks the other way, okay? But then also fundamental is how there are other times when he treated whistleblowers. Like, for example, we know back in 2017, there was this Baji, very early on, who blew the whistle on the state of affairs at the National Intelligence Agency. Okay? Instead of doing anything about it, Baji was victimized very early on. Alaji Mamadi Kurang's case with the Jane Commission. the folks who were at Social Security who rose up against Manjang, regardless of what you may think about the good Manjang was doing, but there were still allegations against him. And some of those people were also victimized. Of course, Manjang also was eventually removed. Number of cases, like each time somebody comes out to speak against authority over what they believe to be wrong happening, it's not, things don't change, they get victimized.
Mustapha.
That's what I'm
Yes.
talking about. The political, that's where the political will lies.
Haji, can you allow Nyang to come on that? Nyang, go ahead.
See, Mustapha, you are right. We cannot rely on human beings to police themselves.
Yeah.
It's laws and institutions. Regardless of how someone is tough on fighting corruption, they're still fallible because they're human beings. So it's laws and institutions that should tame us. But the quickest way to fight corruption in Gambia is to create a digital currency, meaning most, if not an overwhelming majority of transactions will no longer be cash. It will be transfers. Do you think a police officer at a checkpoint will want me to transfer money to, let's say, a central bank digital currency called the Dalasi to his account? No, because there's a paper trail.
Yeah, definitely.
So the quickest way is to use technology to curb corruption. Corruption can't be eradicated in the best of societies because we are human beings. And human beings, most, if not all human beings, happen to have insatiable appetite. And that's a fact. So now what's going to tame us is the price we pay once caught. And if you employ technology by deploying a digital currency, a dalasi, a digital dalasi, trust me, if Gambia, let's say overwhelming majority of us now use Wave, the lettered and unlettered. So what is stopping the government from creating a digital currency to phase out the dalasi over a period, whether it's 3 years or so? Corruption will be reduced to a minimal because no one wants to steal and be caught. And if you take digital transaction, you want to be caught. Yeah.
All right, Haji, you were going to say something.
No. I think Mr. Nyang has highlighted it. I was coming to the issue of like a digital governance system to promote transparency and accountability.
But also another issue. Another issue is what you have just highlighted, transparency. But how do you transparency? But can you have a transparent society where you have the top echelon of the society vested, who have invested interest in corrupt activities? So, for example, we have talked about. So, for example, I told you I just did a story about a particular property that I think there was a change of use, and the president's business is a beneficiary. In that kind of a situation, you have the president, the most powerful person in the country, okay, having a vested interest in what was obviously wrong, right?
So far, maybe you might wanna mute us, Stephen.
Yes, Mr. Stephen, all right. So how do you have transparency? Because in that kind of a situation, yes, transparency is important. Yes, we need to have transparency. Yes, but the primary duty bearer is the one who is having vested interest in that which is wrong, and that's also one of the issues. So, for example, how do under Jame, some of those wrongs that were happening, he had vested interest in it. So it's not that Jame didn't know Mohamed Bazi or what Mohamed Bazi was up to, or Nicolas Bugiano or Tariq Musa or any of these guys. So how do you have transparency in a system like that?
One thing for me, I believe transparency can be achieved through a system where the civil service is well trusted. that like they will not fear that if I'm not in line with the president or the head of the state on the partisan political side, I would lose my job. So if you have a kind of a robust reform on the civil service, I can tell you 60%, some you will get honest people from them. So that system of governance can really expose some issues when the head of the state, is having issues of lack of transparency, issues of possible corruptions. They can be easily exposed, expose them outside there. Through what I was calling like protecting whistleblowers, having laws that are protecting the whistleblowers in the system. If you are doing that, the head of the state or any powerful person in the system will be mindful of what type of transactions he does with who, because at the end of the day, it will be exposed there. And if it does, there are laws.
Forgive me for interrupting, but I think you guys putting too much emphasis on law, because come to think of it, I mean, our presidency, one of the reasons why the draft constitution was actually very much criticized was because of the powers it took from the presidency. Our presidency is literally like a monarch, under the Gambian, on the 1997 constitution. And I give you, so even if you have laws, for example, I made a request a year ago for the central bank to give me a detailed list, an exhaustive list of all the people they sold dollar to, how much they sold it for, and the rationale and the contracts they have signed with them. They refused categorically. They didn't even hide it. And under the access to information law, they should not have any right to refuse me, because you cannot use my dollar, you sell it to a businessman to be able to import into the country. And you are telling me that is confidential from who? How can my money be confidential from myself? Okay? So, but you have an access to information on one, and I can tell you tons of list of things that I have made ATI request on. And if you reach out to Access to Information Commission, they will confirm this, that nobody cares. The only time when some very powerful person has no vested interest in, of course, the institution, they comply and they give me the information. But number of times they don't. So that is law, but then there is something also again and the other in practice.
Yeah. For me, I still believe, because they know that it is going to be very difficult for any whistleblower inside there to leak that information to you. So if you have the law at this other side, you also need to have, I know it's not going to be 100% there, but 1 or 2 persons are willing. If the law is not being complied with, somebody is there willing to leak it out there, and the person can be protected by the law again. That's the point I'm talking about whistleblower.
Well,
like this experience you got, I also went through similar things. We wrote through the Ministry of Interior under the Access to Information Act to request for the data. They categorically deny us, and we can't do anything. And we made a follow up. They can't. They did, and they won't. But like, if you have somebody protected under the law, that the person can definitely leak those informations to you, Mustapha, they will do it, because either through the system they gave you, or through people who are willing to make sure that transparency and accountability take place. Then through those people's channel you can have it. You cannot have a correct system without empowering the arms and the means that definitely provide you that or get you through that system. And the difficulty in the Gambia is, if they deny you through the laws, they know that there is nobody. If it does, the person's job is in risk, because they will sack him. The system is politicized.
So, and another issue is the issue of so we in this country sometimes, this is my impression, I don't know whether it's correct or wrong, we tend to do things because donor agencies are interested in it, not because we believe in them. So for example, if we wanted donor support, and European Union says you have to enhance transparency. So, for example, the U.S. government used to give money to Gambia government. I think they still do, but one of the reasons for it is to have improved fiscal transparency. So Gambia government will start having citizen budget, this budget, that budget. But that is not, they are not doing that for the citizens. They are doing that to tick the box for the US government to give them money. Okay? They do that. So you have situations like that even regarding creation of certain institutions. So for example, we may not even need an anti-corruption commission. Maybe we just need to improve the capacity of the Attorney General. Okay? So, I mean, do you not think that's also, I mean, impact? Let me bring you on this one. Do you not think also domestically, we tend to also be too much driven by outside agenda and not necessarily, our own. Go ahead, drive him.
Our own thinkings. Essentially, the old adage come into play here. He who feeds you owns you. He who feeds you will definitely direct and tell you what to do. So obviously, if you want to keep the donor money coming in, you have to be very donor friendly, and that means you have to dance to the tune that the donors are beating. So the only way to be out of this donor dependent thing and be an innovative country, have your own structures in place and doing things that you as a country feel is needed by a country, is for your country to create a productive sector and develop your economy and be innovative and be competitive against those countries who have, high level of vested interest even in these donor agencies. That's the only way you can be able to do things in the way that you like. But if you are not innovative, you are not productive, your standard of living is low, your level of literacy is low, I don't want to go even deeper. You would always do things that the donors want. So obviously you will not be able to do anything of your own. And this thing that we started talking about here about President Barrow being a good person, no one doubts that. But Mustapha, you are the average of the people that you hang out with. You are the average of your circle. If people around Barrow are corrupt, what does that tell us about Barrow himself? Who employs the advisors to be in your cabinet? He is the person who does that. So if those people have high tendency of being corrupt, then that says a lot about the person that is leading them.
But if another jiko, if another jamme what?
Jumama fisa jammet.
Barrow.
Fisa be dami ngofu en Mustapha anko ko fisa be dami kende ata woto.
But ni jamme for what team mama
we have to find something fangol la boro nyining. Gambia lafta kende alla Gambia man la be fisa. And the sate will be a ban no longer for alcalo that you over Korea Bala.
But me if I financial and neo financial couple alhamdulillah.
Mustapha got into a fanafo. Can you mile one? Mustapha, Boyalo one thing, Barrow shouldn't be compared with Jammeh, in fact. That's where the whole thing got wrong. Because Jammeh, we all agree, Jammeh will come over water referendum. And that's why people keep fighting in the 22 years pro Jammeh Boje. And in that, if we went through Barola campaign in 2016, I campaigned me before. It was all against Barrow. So now,
Bari
Mustapha.
No, but what are you talking about?
Baroni
Mustapha. Mustapha. Ita baro ya sima wala ko di.
Anta ta je bara man do morindi.
Ita
awadu borinde.
Man do morindi.
Je tankundi be dawon to tandi kanja oto tankundi.
Yaje yalo after that sima nga story published about our vested interest in the Gach thing. Ngal ne biri wo question on defa mal dala kawol sen state house de. Nga di nando gelle lamko ale question on sen state. Digala mo ela ke ana ta jansi ta jaina do moro do masaka en kunta ya.
Barku kilim para ya kilim para bato ni na sida ten.
Inko
Because he's such a humble person. Nina sit 1-to-1. He's such a person. Me along, you know, Nina sit 1-to-1. Na jite do my form before the believe like a phone call.
But one day for a haji. But
Baro ka humble panangaya Jamesia Jamela humble tati. Ako mo na poteng.
Yani ko idos.
Bari muso ya fo baro.
Mami alam kakala kaptan koyo dunga ayala bus dunga dung faro ko naning. Ato ka mo na poteng. No, what level of humility are you guys talking about? That's what I want to know.
No, Jame is not humble. Jame ani futa dama from. Ila pare wa from akeji bile kungoto foising oto
Kekendo lo mati wala tena kekendo kama wale nyama.
Ni ma ko ma ke bai. Ake murundi.
Ye maje. Exactly. Kekendo kama wale nyama because you want the best for everybody.
No.
You want the best for everybody. On a serious note though.
Mustapha Nimbara.
Yalom Benjamin. We are looking for one that is better than Baro.
Mustapha Nkame mfwe ya.
Alasan pana. Okay, alimpa tunga alasan pana sambana.
So Mustapha ita sila jamela.
No man sila jamela. Amang kasila akibaji ka betel tal.
Ni se dia la jede.
Mustapha sila jamela daji ka betel tal.
Mustapha Nimbara.
Nimbara.
Yo, ntaka mna fonda mako la bugata. Kachaba karakile na fanya dile.
Ya la NPP ko altul kachaka tu karakile ne do.
Biwo kachaba karakile ne.
Okay, talk about yes kachaba tar karakile because bediam kamme na barola do ko muko.
La do ko kenno bara do ko kenno seta sakani ya jamela ni wala njakalinde.
Ano ya ante fana sonta ka fi ata wote.
Fisi ante ngi man kilinde fa. Exactly. It is compare. When it comes to character wise lambang, development wise lambang, philosophy wise lambang.
Philosophy in what sense?
In what sense? Thank you. Thank you for asking that.
Mustapha.
Imagine buke imamul ja almamu aka fo na sample
officiel Tonya pola lo mati Tonya pola
na sample officiel da imamu
Tonya balu kamu ne Tonya fa moy
okay ya la minale kuma la Mustapha ndela point no da menna baro ni jambe nte mo kala fele from king compare because they are two complete different persons.
Thank you.
But fonche compare ko we have president
hande yalo ita ka fole ko afisa dala ita ka fole ko wole fon manya ne aji fisa da je do barole daji ko do na me alon ko mola sikaba soto je but natra kolbe anyama mo flow na nya fon manke kilinti to be president to be leaders ko
yende iyaje hajende la nde baroje nyame ndaka baroje nyame baro beten damento ten abe damento ten ala levelu ati tambino la jela ata fanala capacity danta janne.
Yeah, then what do that?
What I disagree.
I disagree. I disagree.
No, okay.
I disagree because right now, yeah, man say yeah, 2 years like a in wisdom, ni understanding because you can see file village. You see all type of situations, all type of whatever. when it comes to administration or I mean human interaction wise. So more tarla wodula reka fa aya dango be like you keep improving. Yeah. And then send them from Baronina Sita and in before, and before. Recently na Sita, I see a different person. A more mature leader. There's something different about him. Right now, he is more. I wouldn't want to use the word conscious because it can be used in a loose term. But in the kind of subject matter, mulka mumirato, ani nga mun long ngamra la humility fana Gambia no mola understand. Ya jere kabira na tafanga ka fele man fel long governance. Ntanga amro be mu fama jiolti, but people misunderstand that.
No, former Geofana be the Brahman governance for now understand.
No, but
he was just being honest, and that's
no,
okay.
no, because Momo nyanta na kele president ija na bota jamme kola Momo nyanta kele president ija you'll be incompetent in that role because na re job ta mu yale nene make you must obviously be incompetent. Although Molba Amurala, okay, governance can work then, but Gambia Fonga system of is very complex. It's very complicated. Na remandra system of Konebuka understand. It can okay, na philosophy nyanta nyina kele wodro. We think in one dimension, one way. But they don't know that there are other repercussions to taking one particular decision. Molbuko to calculate. And the more not reba governance, only in that type of leadership. It is more complex than how you think it is. I think for a previous experience totally in leadership. It is not like a Wulita Dorana Anarana. He has previous experience. He's been working, managing complexes and so many other things. Yeah.
Among them, that
is our nature. When it comes to humility, I think people.
No. He said what he said, and we took it as it is.
Oh, you can take it as it is, but I'm telling you what is there, and it has manifested.
Let's narrow it to something.
Okay.
What do you think right now at this point that Barrow could do to combat corruption?
To combat corruption, I think he has a very good intention in combating corruption.
So
and I believe that, and I believe that people have the responsibility. We the Gambians, we have the responsibility, especially the learned people like the ones in this room, excluding myself. They should also come and support the government in making sure that they execute the plans that they have to combat corruption. For instance,
the problem with supporting the government is that, so for example, me, I'm supporting the government, right?
Yes.
And I'm supporting the government by opposing the government.
Yes, so, that's okay.
One person call it counter supporting. I think it's John Fowles. He calls it counter supporting. So I expose corruption to support the government. But quite a number of times, Buko understand that when you expose corruption, they think it's against the government. And the government is my government. It's my institution. I fund it, right?
Yeah.
So that often a problem was there.
No, I'm support but Narum, I can rest. You can be rest assured that Narrating Barosita about fully understand about do woman. Not really in Kawo Pato. Whether he understand. Me and you Kawo Pato about fully understand.
I'm over yet.
Ngonia in Kawo Pato about fully I understand. Yeah. Because I didn't want to go from the National Human Rights Commission. Ila chairman numbigi. I don't know what I meant but saying Wofonka against school do things that are pertinent to human rights of and he really understands that is part of our democracy.
Alasan, if I may comment, Alasan.
Okay.
If I may comment. You know it's a call from start and I think you got it all wrong there. You see, governance is a continuation. Okay. it doesn't mean when a president is coming, he or she is going to remove the entire government, and then start it fresh. You mentioned something like, President, you count the person as incompetent. No, I don't think he or she would be incompetent.
No, you are
As
not
long
generally
as
incompetent, but for that role.
for that role, you cannot call that person incompetent. That's why
So what
transitions
takes you
are
to
there.
be a competent president?
No, you need to have the required understanding of administration as far as governance is concerned, and which most of these people know, even without being president, they do understand that one. You
Including
understand?
him? Okay.
No, the other issue is what you are coming to get through, whether documentation or whatever, but what administrative, process of implement in place. You need to know or have a knowledge of what you are coming to find there. You'll be able to process it, use your brain and process it, and the knowledge that you have. So in Masakunda sign thing, most of them have that one. So now, it meant that the policy compared to what we are hearing. Government institutions already, if you come to corruption issues, audit reports are there. Other issues are National Assembly, recommendation of an it can guide you. Sign meant to Mustapha. Whether you will have the same will to fight exactly what brought you in power, or to change, as far as reforms are concerned, what brought you in power. It doesn't mean that the president has to definitely, come here one day and then change the entire system. No, there are things that guide you through, and you are having tips.
The basic elementary thing is that the role of the president is a supervisor.
It's to supervise. It's to supervise. Exactly. And the beauty of the thing is, Mustapha, what I mean to call, most people don't understand. Even before you are in government, you already have some tips that this is what is happening there. And you have
so haji malafi political conversation. Are you deep in ko itu
no, but yeah.
Alasan itele cool from alasan cool da janjandele. So
da janjandele because kabir na nga comparison
there are 7 things he ended travel for. For example, Tidos is the only person here who thinks that Jame is better than Barrow. God forbid.
Amen.
Ya jele waya tinna fo modo binam fama kumandi la kacha kono yalo nyimoli tolbu ka civic engagement on the mol be la kacha di mana janga ta katam fa kumandi for what?
I
don't understand.
Billahi. I'm to command the bird, ako liya je memang pekem pala wala
you will always have people like that.
Yeah.
There is always that uncle you have to force to the party.
Exactly. Mustapha, left the for Alasani. If you allow me just 1 minute, can I talk political? We're going against Barol, and how do we address corruption? But let's come in for I don't think having 10 years in governance, like Barobe, any adjustments or more seater, like people who are talking here, he appealed to people here to join Baro, to join the government and maybe bring some change. No. You see, it doesn't necessarily mean that we all have to be part of the government. I think when people speak, you need to see the sincerity in what they are saying and have the will to definitely address it, even without them being in your government. Because if you do it, the credit goes to you as the leader of that government. So, but the president, I'll address to those system, I'll respond, the minister will respond, it definitely directly tells you that this person doesn't want these things to be revealed, or he doesn't even have the political will to address them. And I can quote Fajara former Chief Justice resident. Bring Mr. Darboe over there directly at the So I think we all have a say as far as
But what that matter from I'm not so sure whether for Nyanta Barrow from blame la wala ba. Olan fall after le yo tabul ba.
Joma no yalon Mustapha luai memfon ntelbedi am kan luai memfon ma Nyanta ka So put I beneficial sort of from government, nobody goes against that. Against that because as a Kenya president Mukato fighter and I think he deserves some privileges as far as I more staff Nyamena is concerned. But like you deserve it, but you need to take due process. You need to follow due process to ensure that the laws of the land, because you are the the supreme, or you are the the senior person who's supposed to protect and defend the bank or luar.
It's the primary duty bearer, yes.
Exactly. Ito manyana ka luar ben for your interest. Amanyana ka wonya.
Okay, Haji, Alassana Bula wrap up, but Alassana, what we are discussing is the issue of what we think can be done or should be done at this point to address the issue of corruption. Of course, we know Anti-Corruption Commission will be effective this year. The commissioners have already been appointed and the parliament have already approved their appointment. Already there is a problem with the commission because you see the issue with James Manga. James Manga is yes, Famoker. Alassana, do you wish to come back on this subject or you?
Yes. So, unta believe tale ko mumba ke kan ko la banke danaka. President ni abala kato ke kan pour ka corruption by, and he has the intention, which is good for the country. What would have been bad would be not my intention to fight combat corruption. And in corruption of an approach like the way that he's approaching is unlike how Jammeh was approaching it. Not more accused the wrong maritana nyafuna just to appease people's ego kafoko kari fatiatala not corruption or karaki katale nyafuna ye five selo kona without due process. And then due process follow. So no matter follow apare baru follow
bari banko be kasara foka be kodo be nafulu banko be fufu nyokoro ye kenon sane telbinala
baru aje ko jabal fo jamu mandi ya barangal la moy la pare batu ga pare
no Mustapha
baru ngana error for rek after yana ya correct ala you to correct me, don't worry.
Ko kilimbela ko te buka kamfa odoro ne la kodi
yo wala na inkale na nga banku doko yala ntol hamo pour ka banku doko
ani wode alnge so wala NPP call senyor sabajenda ko ebuka kamfa. I like that about them, to be honest.
Tilos
okay so na tete water so yeah. So basically,
Nalimam think Alassana is going to lose his train of thought. He's going to
exactly. And I think I'm a very forgetful person. I'm almost forgetting it. So yeah. So basically, I like the way he approaches corruption allegations because like a due process they use. It alone how painful it is for IK Mari. Yala niaje most on corruption. We are all happy celebrating ko but then you have to follow due process at the end of the day. Everybody deserves that, whether you are perceived guilty or innocent. Defend. I like that. That goes with democracy. So anim fanang ngajela ko ay system will change. Nundang karala cashier sort of government system will koneka yele ika kodo jolo simata ya samanang ika deposit. Ando sunyar jama kasotol. Because again corruption all dol mumay dol tabije tilimbali alam. Bar dol bije nare kodo tayalan de moye kenebar. Famari hanatro mo kendola kantumbe mo hadamado. Hanatro mo kendola iba yala bital maybe I couldn't dintala chopotije. Atala hajo jara aba jikila muna wala computer ngajo water data jola no at the end of the day before I realize so all be kasotono so janimbo be kala fonsa e-government system sort andong baronga jela kabo system wala use ka pour ka make sure ko mol bulo kana si kodola because na reta organizational dulto misal fe MRC ibuka kodoje charge code nya ko droni ne so defende charge ko ta ya use hani sam kodo million nanga moje bar mo bulo buka manwa digit sol dor naka bor so si fa ka yele buka hame you don't have that temptation purieta kodota yama unlike natra kodomala so ngamra ñilla realistic ñilla form root causes ti mu yalla they are trying to solve it in opposed to yeta yenyapi mokar rek yata yamre yasron that doesn't stop it jamia kenu jana mol fam na jana fa barat barabuka system mo ñing correct no because system of root causes bi root causes ni mo attack yata ya solve in the long term it doesn't make any sense and abolo use ka so on the other side too farangaye anti-corruption commission fanantaya londi and then that is going to be independent so that is our own system as the Gambia and I believe that we should protect it at all costs no just few people government is just few people compared to the rest of the population country in tolerant ownership talam fair we hold our institutions to account. Come Mustapha I appreciate it. Although and maybe our voters when there is corruption perception. So but then on the flip side, you know that he's working for the country at the end of the day. Because we go and support people whom you know that they are in the government and they are corrupt. Whether they are part of any party, whether they are part of NPP, UDP, it doesn't matter. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't enjoy it. Just because you are from the same party. So and I believe that there are times that we should not use partisan lenses in solving certain issues. You should be able to support another person if they are from a different political party when they are working for the country. You should be able to accept it. Although politics, I know it comes with certain things that makes it sometimes a little bit tricky to come outwards to condemn certain things. However, nta believe tamuna wala more ila conscience wala nyante guide la and your principle. And I believe, just to summarize, that Barrow he has the intention of making Gambia, I wouldn't say corrupt-free 100%, like he puts it. Human beings, we cannot have 100% a corrupt-free society, but then we should also work towards having a government system that fights corruption.
If I may,
Okay,
if
no, Haji Mbatung. We have two people here. Al Mamarin Dole Kafutam Majang.
Yeah, basically I'll just land there.
Al Mamarin on Lenamold. No, Haji, you have said too many things. Before Ibrahim also have a word.
Okay.
Let me bring in Suare. There is Suare also. He has been here for a long time. He hasn't said a word at all. Suare. Yeah, what's up?
Na kondom bake jamma mo sude ba haji swane ngos o mo UDB groupe do e kala audio kinanje bakele yanta mo UDB famus ballet den hanta mo UDB kanun telephone
yo itonya
den ke hanen tel yo UDB bolta raji haji swane ko la moy bakele kende fanande
tonya
yo mbalbe de UDB ko je dawon ning nga kem bakele fa kinoti nga kanu
baraka bage yapati kende bakam
mbodo jara baro kunda mbodo
mashallah
rete amera sain be nyen coming tapalea ubekele no la banko kanyadi jeri nyaato te comme musalfe nin ko corruption ngol ka suñaro le menike ani en kudo rete amera mo so kele no banko kanyadi no suare los le nga a mutale suare bi je
apanyadi
non ko corruption o ete amera tapale ngo ete amera tapale amen ka corruption o wose kele no banko kanyadi le mbato nge suare
o kellan damanta barobi je
oto bono la
damanta barobe siring ning siraw kan technology fele na niola pour que so
Moro etela internet wo
ko bal fa ni foni president ya fatal nya to nu ake
swara mbatu nge wat dantan dila ngaji be fora internet wo be improve la ka break le mo buke mo ifan la internet wo ka break back la mo buke mo ya mbatu nga wat dantan dila nga muru kana Ibrahim
Yes, Mustapha.
ebe nyaadi
Mbala tendla mo melo mo dekoti.
ebe ja dumare ko ya la registration o stop la ngaji bi dole message o senena you know al mama mal la pop platform dole ya publicity ko
Mama ri tol buka sido tol kayo.
la tol ka sonko la dron kompo atol kam le sonka atol ya mara povaro mo boy atol la korda
And dolman mantra sonka ya le de dolman sonka.
Iko mama yalo mo kana mama.
Al mama ringol le ha.
Angala fike protect le bari bugala fike la moy mama don tulo ka kole yale. Angala fike.
Ya o bejel mama ring kunjaro mo be bul.
Yo mama ring kunjaro.
Mama ring o la fi mama keta.
Yo force o kam yalo buga.
Ebra, we're talking about corruption in the Gambia. I mean, we talked about corruption last week, and we're talking about what the government can do. I mean, there are a lot of people who are of the view that government is not doing enough, myself included. I mean, you know, yaron biring baro in December or dina lang amira fe nek na do.
Ya later Mustapha imu low key NPP le dia mara fa mo
Mustapha la problem with the amantra lado bi nadia mbeba mira go sympathize so
no mata chahano la NPP lo mintida ala koresi kuba
no wallahi mantra NPP
I want the NPP but I'm diving for it. You never know because sometimes he sounds like UDP, sometimes he sounds like PDI. You don't even know where this guy belongs. Okay, but Mustapha, can I come up with na opinion about this corruption issue? And I'm gonna look at it from
go ahead.
I'm gonna look at it from political party lenses, and that does not exclude UMC, even though we are awaiting, political party. I think because government and they are not just born out of, in isolation. It is political parties that form a government. And then if political parties do not have internal controls or don't have a system where they will control the way corruption is done internally within themselves, corruption on continue. And then most of the political parties, it's just a contest of waiting for a position. Opposition not only just because they are in opposition of the incumbent, but they are in pending or waiting for a position to do exactly what the opposition does. And even if you go to this opposition parties, even the main opposition parties, you rarely see their audited documents. You rarely see them come to Congress and present
audited accounts.
Audited accounts.
Mena kuma kuntu the 2021 ntolie we wrote a letter to UDP hajila molo nkoyo ko ala lafta la audited account lesson na ye pension nyene camera village klopo
but can the UDP find you ambula ngana point complete
no mbato nga mfot almama walle village klopo kawo ya training ko village treasurer
Yeah, I understand. So these are opposition parties. These are the opposition parties that are waiting to take over from government. And the reality is, when they come into existence, it's Africa more than they are controlling their finances will not be very, very key. But the leader of their finances will like finance minister. I don't need to name names. We have political parties, their finance ministers,
And you are naming names,
Mustapha, but allow me, yalla you know problem. New more than take kill into the damn guy, then more final allow me to make my statements.
Okay, all right, go ahead, go
Let me
ahead.
cap whereas who it fits. You understand?
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So this is it. When they come into power, there will be definitely no different. Barrow is definitely corrupt. Yeah, I understand. Nobody can take that from him. That is a cap that he wears. And then he's not only corrupt, but he assists corruption. And I think one of the reasons why that happens is he's kind of naive as well. It's like maybe Barrow in passing, a monkey coming some kanyambati, but mole cover me along, they're just like that. Right, and then sometimes even if you look at Ikabaro other corruption women, if you look at it across the board, it's happening in other political parties, for example. Near Baro, for example,
Nonde,
accused
I have
for
always held the view
yeah
coming corruption of
accused
permeated.
accused, for example, Ikabaro
Allah opposition leader Benjamin Yalonko. Opposition leader Benjamin Yalonko invite na platform or yebo.
This is the point. So maybe for Kawalon Konye Baro Fang at maybe I'll just give an example. You call Baroka Corrale Dimon or Baro Corraleta. If you look at oppositions, there are oppositions to Alonco, they might not be the one to have corral from poor farmers like corral, but they have their family members behind, they are giving land, and those family members are rich. It's a violation of the law because the law says score people that are in need. Yeah, I understand. So, if you have the same people, me and Uncle, they're pointing fingers at Barrow. Obviously, you look at them outside, they're not there, they're doing exactly what Barrow do. What reality only tells you is when they come into power, that's exactly what is going to happen. And then if you, and honestly, I do have high respect for Khalifa, even though sometimes, Qatar are ridiculous. They are audited. Very, very few of them. If a Gambian politician he is audited, and then personally if I'm involved into corruption, they will see a little about him in corruption, killing will continue. Other than that, if you count them,
Oh,
you will
Khalifa
see.
leti Ibrahim. Tolfanan sensiso kosino wala ko Khalifa. Hana domandingo, hana tokko domandingo fong itas tolata.
But
leader.
but in call for
Black.
Tidos, I agree with that. Even though I believe PDIs they have ICAC and dogmatic mentality in terms of taking over the country, but I also believe Itilintar. Because more be ajitane Bangkok and Jampira is material ekadi tolele balang. Eka kudo di tolele balang. One sort of opposition party. It's hard to say, but an opposition party, for example, I'll name
Feel free. Tell we are very tolerant. I can
No,
listen.
I do appreciate. I do appreciate your tolerance. Even though it's
Yo, so Ajimba to Ibrahim Diamfolo, na pareda. Ibrahim nga pareda.
He's dealing with Democrats.
No, anata jang Allah ko la mama ringo ni mama muneka nyoja. Allah ko
Mustapha, please, what's your you didn't go find the season.
No, complete.
Anyway, so that's it. Going back to corruption, I think we need to find it internally, beyond political parties, in our homes. They are strong fighters of corruption. I've seen people they are strong fighters of corruption. Any corruption if you look at them, they have their family members every day, they give them money and they celebrate it. Yeah, I understand. You see people that are friends with people their salary monthly is 50,000, they have houses in $2 million and they're still friends with those people. It's just common sense to tell them that money does not belong to them. They have no established business, they have nothing. Every month they are paid less than 50,000. They have assets worth $5 million. Like you don't need arithmetic to get to that answer. So, and then the only problem with corruption in the Gambia is people find it only when they are not affected. I remember one thing. I remember one thing. Let me share my experience. Let me share my experience with you to your phone call to your listeners. I think 4 or 5 years ago, covering civil aviation issue in terms of security issue. When I wrote about it, and then I called you, you told me something, Mustapha. I'll never forget about it. Because you are part of these people. Why are you complaining today? The only problem Gambians have is they only complain of corruption when they are not part of the system. And I had to make a case to you that I am part of the system and I'm still there. I have the opportunity to enjoy, but I'm not going to. That's why I'm blowing the whistle. And that's why you listen to me. But how many people out there will be genuine enough to listen to people's cry for corruption, not only because it's corruption, but because they want to put themselves at center? So I think it's across the board. Individuals, you look at them, individuals, I don't, it's not easy to name names, but you see people, they are strong, strong, strong fighters of corruption. But if you hear kiss, you come in for a fight, they are part of it. You understand? So this is the problem. I think I think if we start from there, definitely we will definitely at least, because the reality for them, the corruption is even in academics, it's very, very difficult to define corruption. There is no unanimous decision or definition or characterization of corruption. People will tell you everything, but what is generic is anything that is wrong. Anything that is wrong, it can be characterized as corruption. So what is more important is the correction of corruption needs to start from homes. How do people react to corruption? How do people understand that this is wrong? How do people look at corruption beyond what is legal and beyond what is illegal and look at it from a more moral perspective? How do we even bring religion in the center of it? Because milka corrupt back in your office also. I am telling you this, Mustapha. If you go to offices, the people that pray the most, if you make a scrutiny of where their offices are, those are the offices So I think that's it for me.
Bari Ibrahim yalon ne ko doka sali wati lula man sila ala la sondo mo kon.
Yeah, I agree with you, Titus. 100%. 100%. I give you an example. I will not name names because no attack. Some 6 years ago, what time of Gambian Malam when you go the security report issue, Kodobe Takan, part of the committee, I was part of the secretariat. Kodobe didn't have a filter, but I complained about it in forcefully. The first person me Saveroka to the board of directors of civil aviation, he was the imam in the airport. So at the end of the day, any band la samadla molka jawo min kela, but ita mo jai in a building me alonko is what more than 5 million and our salary is not more than $40,000. So that's it. But I'm also supposed to chant for other people, but that's for me as far as corruption is concerned. Yeah.
Mustapha, you come and name and I'm not saying Ibrahim, I'm saying Mustapha, like the names in the parliament. He says Mr. Speaker. Okay. Ibrahim, yen tofo. Yengarwale for yen tofo. The malo adel you
Jumal tofo UDP wa.
Anybody mal tofo de ngamin fa la karon fa lang you may stop there so that I clear isa ye come man kagaro nko UDP lam patio de mi ya lonko. Corruption for example.
Haji, I was going to ask Ibrahim this before he goes.
Okay.
Because also we are drawing this to a close. One can see. So I want him to, because I want issue Mame Alonko is very fundamental. Yes, it's a societal issue. Yes, political parties are having a lot of issues and all that stuff, and they are the major vehicle. But saying Busho, who is the one person saying corruption of Fanabe Kela Nola Nyadi? Like, because those guys, we know a lot of these guys, people who are corrupt are like helpless. They cannot help it. It's like people who are possessed.
So Mustapha, in my experience in the West here and working within this system, the only way I think they are able to manage corruption, they are very corrupt people here. The only way I think they're able to manage corruption is by fighting corruption using their systems. For example, you can sit at home, you are working, but at the end of the day, your dashboard will present what impact did you do? Did you meet your performance indicators? What haven't you done? One. And two, if you are issuing a contract here, you don't even necessarily know the people you are issuing contract to. It is all done background on the system. right? So I think corruption, the best way to fight against corruption is to have systems that will resist corruption. Because the truth of the matter is, no matter how much big punishment you bring about corruption, China will kill a more other places, but still it's happening there. No matter how much punishment you but the best thing is never corruption or fight can have a system is going to manage it. Have a corrective measure in place. I'll tell you a system. I consult for a company called Marvin Services. When they are punishing their staff for being late, you don't have anybody to complain to. If you are late for two hours, the system automatically deducts 2 hours from your pay. By the end of the month, you won't see the amount of your money in your account. Who do you call? There is nobody who make that decision. That decision is made by a system. It's the system that captures that you are delayed. It's the system that communicates to payroll that this person is late and they need to be